Hi, everyone. I'm Kristy Knichel, co-host of the LLC podcast. It's an honor to introduce listeners to inspiring women who are making a real difference in logistics and supply chain. With the LLC podcast, you'll hear inspirational stories, both personal and professional challenges our guests have overcome, how their backgrounds help to shape who they are today, and how they empower others, give back to their communities, and often the world. Today, I am thrilled to introduce Meghann Erhart, a dynamic force in the logistics industry. Meghann currently serves as the Executive Vice President for Relay Payments, where she oversees growth and adoption of the fintech's rapidly growing new product lines. As a fintech company headquartered in Atlanta, Relay is modernizing payments for the trucking and logistics industry. Prior to joining Relay, Meghann spent 15 years at Pilot Flying J, where she led various business units, including sales, support, and business process improvement for trucking, while helping the organization with its digital transformation. A proven leader with 20 years of experience in trucking, Meghann is a sought-after speaker in the logistics, supply chain, and transportation industries. She graduated from Georgia Tech with a degree in civil engineering and earned her MBA from the University of Tennessee. She currently resides in Tennessee with her husband and her 2 teenage daughters. With her wealth of experience and commitment to excellence, Meghann is an invaluable asset to our network. So thank you for joining us, Meghann.
Thank you, Kristy. Excited to be here and love to talk about women leaders and love to talk about women leaders in trucking. So excited to be a part of this today. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be quite honest, I mean, I've heard Relay a couple times, but I really didn't know much about Relay. So it was great to get you on here and talk about that, and also talk about you being a woman in technology, which I think is awesome. And especially your path like through Pilot, being there for so long. So just working your way up through the chain, which is very inspiring. So let's just dive right in. So your journey through the trucking industry, as I just mentioned, from Pilot to Relay is very fascinating. So can you please share with our listeners where you grew up, your journey that led you to the current position? Why did you leave Pilot to where you're at today? And let's just go from there.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, until I was 8, I lived in super South Georgia. Really south, like almost to the Florida-Georgia line. My dad was a crop duster and a cotton farmer, and then my mom was a nurse, and we moved when I was 8 to Tennessee. So I live today in East Tennessee, right outside of Knoxville. This is home. This is where we chose to have and raise our kids. It's a great place to raise a family. And then I decided to be an engineer. And the funny thing about plans is they always change. It's sort of like trucking.
Yep.
And I was going to go get a civil engineering degree to then go get a restoration degree to go live in Europe and clean old European buildings.
Wow.
That was my plan. Needless to say, that didn't work out. And now I'm in trucking and have been for years. So what I really quickly realized was that I was not really a typical engineer. And so every time I would call my parents and cry about, like, I don't want to do this. Not that I couldn't do it, that I don't want to. My dad just kept saying, like, an engineering degree from Georgia Tech's never going to hurt you. Get the degree, then do whatever you want. So that's what I did. I did not go to restoration school. Who knows? Maybe, in my 60s, maybe I'll get there, but I highly doubt it. And what I did is I went to work for a hardware software company, and I wanted to figure out, and this was early 2000s, like, how could you take data and processes and work with customers? So I went into a hardware software company to do that. Crazy time in the early 2000s with the dot-com bubble and all of that. So I saw a lot of really high highs and really low lows. Again, really preparing me for trucking. And then they wanted me, I had moved to Tennessee. I got stuck in like a 3.5-hour traffic jam in Atlanta one night, told my husband we were leaving. My company at the time didn't want me to leave. And so I actually worked remote on a 56K modem. So it was like the first remote type employee. And they wanted me to move back to Atlanta. I couldn't at the time because of personal reasons. And so I went to work for Pilot. I was there for 15 years. It was a wonderful company to learn in. It was a wonderful company to grow my career. I was given opportunities that most companies really wouldn't have offered. And I just happened to be at the right place at the right time with the right skill set, and had developed really a career at Pilot of helping solve problems with people, process, and technology, and doing it the right way. And so I had that career, 8 jobs in 15 years. And it just got to a place where I wanted to see where other adventures would take me. And because of our 2 teenage girls, I really was not able to move at the time. And so Relay, I had gotten exposed to, loved to see what they were doing, what we were doing. And we're really, like you said, we're modernizing digital payments for transportation and logistics. And I jumped in, came in. I am part of the executive leadership team and a part of helping set the strategy, helping teach, right? Teach that next generation of people that are going to be supporting the industry that I love. And just really enjoy what we do and how we do it. And very, very, very happy where I am.
No, that's awesome. I think it's amazing that you've been able to do that, or at least even know when you went to school, like you didn't want to do the engineering, but then you obviously found a career that you loved and excelled in. So speaking of that, do you have any mentors that you had along the way that helped you while you got to your success?
Oh, absolutely. You have different mentors in life, I feel,
Right.
and you have sponsors too. I think it's really critical to have both. You need to have mentors. You need to have sponsors. I saw something on Instagram the other day, and it was, you see them at various times, and I forget exactly how it was worded, but it was like, you want people in your corner that speak up for you when you're not in the room. And I've had that my whole career. I've had males that have done that. I have had females that have done that. And it's really allowed me to be able to vent in a safe space. I think you have to have that. And as a mentor, that's critically important, to know that you're in a safe space. I try to do that with people today. It's like, hey, if you use the word vault with me, it's vaulted. Like, it's not coming out. But like, you're also going to hear what I'm going to tell you. You might not like what I tell you, but I'm going to tell you. And I had that throughout my whole career. I think it starts with your family and your close friends. So my parents definitely had a part of that. I had a family that is a very big matriarch family on my dad's side. My dad was raised by pretty much all women. And so he was raised by a single mom. She was widowed when she was 34. My grandmother was. My grandmother was also the maid of honor at our wedding. So
very cool. That's unique.
Yeah. She was an amazing woman. Like, you did not get in her way.
Yeah, I love that.
But it was, I saw that early on. I saw her working 2 jobs, working 3 jobs. Now that could have been because of her QVC habit, but I still saw her working, right? I saw what she was able to do. I had a mom that was a nurse and did various things, and they mentored me to do that, and they gave me a safe space. And then you continue on your career. And in college, I had people that stepped up and taught me. I didn't necessarily have a fun college experience, but I did get that degree. And then throughout my entire career, I've had people that have spoken up for me, have spoken out for me, when I needed a 2x4 to the head because I just was being thick and I needed someone to like take me out of it.
Right.
People that did that. And Kristy, you've got to have people in your life that'll tell you straight.
Yep.
And will support you when you're not in the room. And I've been able to have that: men, women, family members, friends, adversaries Those are always interesting. But really being able to listen and figure out what was right for me. Who did I want to become within the industry, within my career as a mama? How did I want to become too?
Yeah, I mean, speaking of that for a second, has it been challenging for you having the two young girls? I mean, I have a 13-year-old and my husband's a stay-at-home dad. So obviously, I mean, that sounds great, but it's also challenging sometimes, I think, for the men to be in that role and for the mom to feel like, am I doing enough? Am I showing up enough?
Yeah, it's the mama guilt, right? It's
Right.
real. Mama guilt is real. Right. It happens no matter if you don't work outside the home,
Right.
whether you're a part-time, whether you're full-time, whether you travel, whether you don't travel.
Right.
And I think every family has to figure out what works. And everyone's got to be very open and honest. So I had someone give me advice one time. It was another mom. She had 3 boys. And we were talking about something. And I was like, I'm not sure Michael knows where I am this week. And she was like, that's unacceptable. And she was like, you have to build a family calendar. And you have to share with them where you are, because you never know in this world, right? Like what could be going on. And so it was like, okay, I put on my husband's calendar, like MBE Atlanta, MBE Austin, like wherever I'm going to be, to where he knows at least these are the days I'm going to be out. The other thing that we did, and we did it early, I started traveling a lot. Let's see, Allison was 3 and Annalise was 16. I'm sorry, 6, 3 and 6. And I started traveling a lot. And what I realized really quickly is that there were non-negotiables in my life. There were non-negotiables in my kids' life. And so before every 9 weeks, we still do it. We'll sit down and be like, what can I not miss? It is a non-negotiable for me to miss that. And I haven't. Our oldest turns 18 on Saturday.
Awesome.
And I have never missed a birthday. And that's hard. That's hard these days. That's hard when you have to tell your boss, I'm sorry, I cannot go to that customer meeting. It's my daughter's birthday. I don't miss birthdays. Like that is a non-negotiable for 18 years. And I've missed my husband's birthday. I've missed my birthday. I've missed anniversary. I've missed everybody else's, but not the kids.
I love that, because I actually scheduled a trip this year and it actually was over my son's birthday and I didn't even realize it until a week later. And then I'm like, oh no, I need to cancel this. I can't go when I sent someone else in my place. So
exactly. Non-negotiable.
Yeah.
And I think making the kids a part of that early on was really important, because there were things that they thought were a non-negotiable that I would have like totally whiffed on.
Right.
Totally missed, because I thought that my husband had it, but they wanted mom there. So we really have done that. That's been a balance. Also being really open and honest. I watched your podcast with another lady. I think it wasn't you, but it was someone else, but they were talking about like just being able to be present and what you encounter in the workplace as a female. And since my kids could ask questions, I answered them, right? 98% of my career, I've been the only female in the room. What does that look like? How is that? How do you have to present yourself differently?
Right.
Mama, why do you wear 4-inch heels all the time? Well, because I'm short and I need to be at eye level.
I'm short, but I can't because of my ankles. I've rolled them several times, and unfortunately, that part sucks about me anyways. But
I will tell you what, post-COVID, I cannot wear them like I used to. Wear them all the time. But those are the types of things where it's like, I'm real with them. I tell them about, people have said some really crappy things to me because I'm a female. Not just because of the industry I'm in. It's not an industry problem. Right. It's just a situation problem. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. I appreciate you sharing all that. It's great stuff. So Relay might be unfamiliar to some people that are listening today. So could you provide some insights into unique value propositions the company offers to its clientele. Like I looked at the website briefly, so I kind of have an idea. It's maybe similar to like a Triumph Pay, so to speak. So maybe you can talk to, because again, like that's what I'm familiar with, and that's what it kind of seemed to me, but I just want to know a little bit more.
Yeah, so that's one of our products. So we started a little over 5 years ago. Our co-founder spent thousands of hours on the dock trying to figure out where were the inefficiencies within the entire payment space of transportation and logistics. We started in lumper payments and digitized that. So we do codes, they're not cash, they can't be cashed for cash.
Right.
We built all of that. We then had a customer base. They were super smart and they built a customer base. And then they said, what else do you not like? What else drives you crazy? What else can we help solve for you? And sometimes customers came to us. And so we do have a product that is a payment between brokers and carriers. We have that. So similar to what you were talking about. We also have built a fuel payment product. So the competitors to that would be like your Wexes, your Corpay. I've got to get used to that. Voyager, your multi-serve, all of those, to where we are a rail where you can bring your own discount from those merchants. So we are accepted at over 1,500 locations across the US, or deals that we've negotiated on behalf of our customers, they can take advantage of. And so we've built out a payment platform to really serve the industry in a way that there's no fraud. There can't be fraud. So in June, we will have been live out of stealth mode for our fuel payment product for a year. And we've not had a single, not one, zero fraudulent charges and fraudulent payments. So we're really proud of that. It's a tenet of what we have built here at Relay, and we're excited to get more and more folks on it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely interesting because obviously the times right now, there's a lot of fraud that's going on. My company's experienced it. Obviously, this past year, actually twice, I would say, but like this past year was more than typical. So, so it's very interesting that you guys are building that out, and I think it's important that companies know that that's out there for them.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So what current endeavors, whether in your professional or personal life, ignite your passion, would you say? And what aspects of these pursuits resonate most deeply with you?
Well, I'm in an interesting time in my life. So we've got a 15-year-old, and then our oldest turns 18 on Saturday. That brings a whole new slew of challenges. She's going to graduate. She's going to go to college. She's not going to go to college close. 4.5 hours. So that's not too bad. But what it opens up is a lot of still focus on your kids, right? Like, yeah. Okay, I am going to take every moment that I can because life is about to completely
right.
So we're doing a lot as a family. We're taking trips, we're cooking together. We're like soaking it all up to make sure that we have as much time as we can while still supporting like her about to be independent, right? Like the funny thing is today, and she'll probably get mad at me, but she sent me a text message and she said, hey, can you make my wisdom teeth appointment? Because after Saturday, I have to do it.
Ah.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, like now you're an adult. Welcome to adult.
Right. But it's those things, right, of like trying to navigate it. So that is taking a huge amount of my time, Kristy. And I know that's not probably where you were headed, but it is a time in life where I'm trying to like not be too sad, but also just enjoy the time however I need to. So that's a big thing for me, and soaking it in, right? Like just soaking in the time of what my family needs. From an outside of mama standpoint, I was invited to this event about a month ago up in New York City. And it was dynamic women in technology getting together. And there were 22 of us that came from all over the world. And we got 36 hours together.
Wow.
I knew one person in the room when I walked in. And that time of listening to what other women have experienced, that time of laughing, right? And getting to hear these stories and getting to spend time and what was their journey? What are the opportunities that are out there that I've never even thought of, not from just a career standpoint, but just how to think, how
Yeah.
to process, how to develop teams, how to become a better mentor, how to become a better coach, and to do it all within safe space. That to me got me outside of my tunnel vision. I have an issue, I know that, where I will get super tunnel visioned.
Yeah.
Like, man, I walked out of there and I'm like, I won't miss one of these unless it's for my kids, unless it's the non-negotiable. I'm not going to miss this.
Yeah.
Because it allows, I have it with my friends, but it's a little bit different when everybody else is around, but to have 36 hours together. So I'm going to do more of that.
Yeah.
I'm really going to get outside of my tunnel vision, and that's one way for me to do it. And I'm going to keep finding other ways.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think one of the things we talk about all the time is finding like your tribe, your circle of women too within like the professional career space as well. Not just that, but also maybe finding, other circles of women, because obviously there's a group of women that I can always reach out to as well, and we can have those conversations. And like you said, it always brings up some different ideas and things that you don't think about, which is very interesting for sure.
Yes.
So I like that. And I like the fact too that like you're in tech. Like that's so cool, because it's probably, like you said, 98% you've been like the only woman in the room, right?
Yeah, most of my career, and 24 years next month. All right, sorry, this month.
Wow.
And yeah, I have been, but with that comes, some of my closest friends in business are male.
Yeah.
And, I know them, I know their families, they know my family. And you get that to where you know who you can call up. You're right. You have your tribe. You have your tribe of women. You have your tribe of family. You have but you also have your tribe in this industry,
Yes.
right? Of when you encounter an issue and you go, I have no idea how to deal with this. I'm just going to admit it. How have you dealt with it? And I think that's what's amazing about trucking and logistics is people like to help.
Yeah.
People like to be asked, how did you handle this? Because it's hard. Trucking is hard.
Yeah. No, it is. And I dealt with that my whole career as well. Like, I think I was afraid to reach out initially. And then eventually I was just like, hey, I'm just going to do it. And there were so many people that were willing to help and answer questions. Because I think for me, it was a confidence thing for a long time as well. So now I think I'm to that point where I can just pick up the phone and call someone and ask them, and them, think that they're not going to, judge me because I should know this or whatever the case may be.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's definitely good stuff. I mean, this kind of goes into the next question I was going to talk to you about, but we already touched on it. Like, basically, working in trucking is a very demanding career to have. And I don't know if you have any strategies. I mean, you just talked about the strategy of the calendar with the family, or experiences that have helped you maintain that healthy balance between your professional and your personal life. But I like the whole calendar thing you shared, because for me, I haven't done that, but I actually have a whiteboard that I use to put stuff on to communicate as well. But like, I'm not that great with it. So, yeah, I mean, are there any other things that you can share that maybe that you've done, like obviously working for a company that can be flexible with you, those type of things?
I think this is hard. This is hard for women in general. This is also hard, I think, for women in the industry. I talk about my family.
Yeah.
Right. I talk about my kids. I think that that's okay.
Yeah.
This is a very human-driven business in trucking and in technology. And yeah, they don't need to know if my kid had a total meltdown when she was 5. Like, that's not it. But, hey, there's going to be a week in August where I'm going to take my kid to school and my whole family is going to be a mess.
Right.
Like I had a friend of mine tell me this, one of the ones that was at the event with me, the only one I knew at that event. And she was like, hey, I've already looked it up. I know that this is move-in day. Her daughter graduated last year. And she goes, I'm going to tell you what to do. And I said, okay. And she said, you block your calendar and you don't make any big decisions that week.
Oh.
You are going to be a mess and your family is going to be a mess and you cannot make a decision because you will regret it. And I'm like, okay. So what did I do? I blocked it, which comes back to the calendar. But I think it's talking about things, right? And making sure that people understand who you are as a person, what makes you tick. I was part of a group when I started at Relay, and it was like a whole bunch of new of us, right? Newbies. And we had a coach that walked us through an exercise and we took a personality test. And I've taken every personality test out there and they all say the exact same thing. I mean, I'm self-aware. I am exceptionally self-aware of what I'm good at and what I am definitely not. And one of the things that has come out every single time is I do not handle absolutes well, which Kristy, you in trucking, you probably understand. You're probably like, well, yeah. But I get highly triggered with like the words always and never. I get highly triggered with that's the way it's always been, or anything that's super polarizing. And that came out in these sessions, like my first couple of weeks. And the coach that was walking us through all this was like, hey, you all need to know, like, it's not like it annoys Meghann. It sets off every trigger, every red alarm around her goes off. And you need to beware. But he asked me ahead of time, he goes, are you okay if I share that? And I'm like, if they're going to work with me, they need to know these things. Like the other thing I talk about is I'm like, I get hangry. We're not talking about, I get a little annoyed. Like I get mean. The only advice that my dad ever gave my husband was don't let her say she's hungry twice. It's the only advice. And it is bad. Like I know it. I am self-aware. I keep snacks, like just in case. I always have. But hey, the people that travel with me, the people I'm around, they need to realize that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's great that you share that. Again, it goes back to building relationships and who are you and, you know, what makes you tick. And I mean, that's just how you, you know, present yourself. And I love that you do that. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Absolutely.
So since you are a female leader in a predominantly male industry, as we already talked about multiple times, do you have any specific leadership strategies that you found to be effective, or where do you believe there's room for further growth and leadership within this context as well?
I think body language is under talked about, especially as females. I was having a conversation earlier today, and it was a great conversation, but I got asked the question, hey, do you think that reaction was because you're female? And I was like, like I would sort of forget about it. Yeah, I know that sounds terrible. I really shouldn't. But yeah, okay. Yeah, that could be. Is it a double standard? Yes.
Yeah.
Can I change it? Absolutely not. And so it's like, okay, understand it. Understand that it's going to happen. But body language is probably the biggest thing. And I think we talk about it on the side, right? But again, I keep going back to my kids. Sorry.
That's all right.
You realize that they're turning 18 and you're like, oh crap, what have I not told them?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what do I need to make sure? Like, it's not like on Sunday, she's not going to listen to me anymore, but to impart the wisdom, you start thinking about it. And it's like, hey, kiddo, like when you lean against a wall a certain way, it comes across as being a know-it-all.
Yeah.
Body language. You and I have had years of experience. We've watched it. We've seen it. But sometimes we've got to remind young leaders, green leaders, especially female leaders, that the way that they present themselves, whether it's fair or not, does matter and will impact their career. The same way that grammar does in an email, right? You send an email out that doesn't have a comma or a period and is all lowercase. It's like, you're not going to win that deal. Ever.
Yeah. And I mean, speaking of that, I get emails from people trying to sell to me that literally have the wrong name or call me sir, dear sir. And I'm just like, what is this?
Yes. And I think that's why it's important as females to like understand the body language. Like, you want to be able to read a room, even read a Zoom. Watch the body language. It's going to tell you so much more.
Yeah.
So those are the kinds of things I try to impart to people. I don't know if that's exactly what you were looking for, but when you ask,
honestly, I think it's great because that's not something that anyone's ever brought up before, to be honest. I mean, we talk about a lot of stuff, but not about body language. And I think you're spot on with that. Like, that's something that will be like totally new to people watching this. Even me, like, I am aware of it, not, all that, but we just haven't talked about that. So I think that's a great thing to, talk about for the future leaders that are out there. Cause I also find that, I mean, I've been in industry 26 years myself too. And the leaders that are coming up under me, it's a lot different than, like, say, the group we had growing up with us. So it'll be interesting, I think, as time goes on.
It is. Yes, it is very interesting.
Yeah. So what would be the best advice, say, you ever got, and how did it change you?
Oh, that's a really good one. I think it's been bits and pieces, right? We talked about it earlier, of just like different parts of my life. I had someone one time say, you've got to be present.
Yes.
And it was like, okay, I said yes. I didn't really realize what it meant. And I had someone one time give me advice that was like, hey, you need to smile more. I was mad at that comment for 6 months. I'm like, the only constructive criticism you have for me is I need to smile more.
Yeah.
And then you get further and further from it, and you're like, yeah, I probably should. Right? Like, I probably should smile more. I probably should get to know people that work for me and be more open. I probably should read 1, 2, or 5 body language books. Those are the kinds of things that are tactical. But the other things of be present are, especially now that we have phones all the time.
Yes.
Like, okay, excuse me, put your phones up at dinner. And that can be a customer dinner too. Like, I've spent enough time in this industry and I see the same customers. It's like, hey guys, let's sit on our phones for a little bit. Like, let's at least get through cocktails and not be on our phones. And I think that really makes a difference. I think one of the other ones is being able to adjust. In one of your other podcasts, there was a lady that said, hey, one thing's constant in this industry, and it's change.
Yeah.
And that has to be something that those that are coming up, your future leaders, like, yes, things change in this industry more than any other industry. It could be regulatory. It could be a spot market. It could be, equipment pricing. It could be fuel pricing, all of these different things, but it's inevitable that it's going to change, and being able to adjust to that. And then advice that I gave different than what's been given to me. I didn't have this problem.
Right.
I fell in love with this industry pretty quickly. But one thing that I always tell people is, if you don't like drivers, if you don't want to talk to a driver, then you're in the wrong industry. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Perfectly fine. But get out, because the drivers mean too much to this industry for you to be disrespectful.
Yeah.
And I think that does matter. You have to like your customers, right? You may not agree with them, but you should at least like to talk to them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you there. And I like the whole present comment, because I agree with you, like putting your cell phones down. I tend to feel like I'm like sitting here typing while my assistant's over here, like, and it's rude. And then I don't even take in what she's saying. And that's something I've had to focus on myself, even put it down, focus, because again, you're wasting more time trying to figure out what just happened.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think that's a really good one for sure. So since we're coming to the end of the show, I have one last question for you. So if you were to give a single piece of advice to a young woman entering into the logistics field, what wisdom would you impart to them?
Do it.
Yeah, I love that.
Absolutely do it. Like, even if it doesn't become your passion, like you and I.
Yeah, yeah,
Man, do you learn a lot. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn
yeah,
a lot about what moves this country, what moves the industry, how important supply chain is. You know, pre-COVID, supply chain people were not in the boardroom. They were not there to make decisions. They are now. They continue to be. And I think if you get exposed to it, even in an internship, right, or your entire career,
right.
it just opens up doors for you, because you can explain it, you can talk to it. It's the basis of every industry. If you are tech, if you are pharmaceuticals, if you are rocket ships, whatever you're doing, logistics and trucking comes into it. And I really think it's important for women to get into it, maybe not as like the love of their career, but to be able to get to that boardroom one day and have the contextual information to be able to make an impact that nobody else in that room can.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love that. And I appreciate you sharing that, because I think one of the things that it's done for me being a woman in this field is really made me stronger as a person, professionally and in my personal life. And sometimes people ask me, like, I don't know how you do it every day. And I'm like, I just do. You just got to keep going forward. And I think that's why I love this industry and the passion. It's always something new and different. And it just kind of almost forces you to just be better.
Yes.
So, no,
Well, only the strong survive in this industry.
yes, that is for sure. So, well, thank you so much for sharing with us. You know, we're at the end of our show, and for more information about Meghann and her business, please visit relaypayments.com. Relay Payments is also on LinkedIn, and Meghann Erhart is on LinkedIn as well. So thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more inspiring stories with the LLC.